Premier League champions Arsenal are reportedly closing in on a principal agreement for Real Madrid's Vinicius Junior, the most audacious transfer move in modern football history. On paper, it is a statement of war. Mikel Arteta wants a superstar. The Kroenkes want a global commercial titan. Yet behind the headlines lies a fatal paradox. Arsenal are proposing to dismantle the structural discipline that ended their 20-year title drought, all to shoehorn a $150 million luxury asset. By importing Madrid's ultimate chaos agent, North London is inviting a massive tactical tax onto a machine built on absolute collective harmony. Is this Arteta's final evolutionary step, or an ego-driven gamble that risks breaking Europe's tightest defensive structure? To grasp why this deal represents a radical systemic risk, look at the cold numbers behind Arsenal's title-winning framework. Last season, Arsenal were Europe's most oppressive defensive unit. They posted a passes per defensive action, PPDA, of 8.9, the second fictest press in the Premier League, while suffocating opponents to a league-low 0.81 expected goals, XG, per 90. They controlled 62.4% possession not through individualism but through territorial dominance and rigid structural geometry. Their rest defense relied on every forward tracking back endlessly. Gabriel Martinelli provided 3.42 defensive actions per 90 in the final third, alongside 4.81 pressing snares and recoveries per match. Enter Vinicius Junior. At Real Madrid, Vinicius enjoys total tactical exemption. Last season, he logged just 1.12 defensive actions per 90, placing him in the bottom 8th percentile for wingers across Europe. Carlo Ancelotti's system absorbs this because Real thrives on moments of individual magic, rather than micromanaged positional structure. Vinicius excels in transition from the left-half space, averaging 7.84 progressive carries, 9.15 take-ons, and a combined 0.89 xG per match. But he is an explosive, high-risk operator who surrenders possession 14.2 times per game. Drop Vinicius onto Arsenal's left wing and the mechanics shatter. In Arsenal's 3-2-5 ball possession shape, the left winger must hold width before cutting inside to overload the half space. The moment ball possession is lost, that winger must immediately counter-press to shield the left center back. Vinicius doesn't counter-press, he scans for space to exploit the next transition. Inserting him directly compromises Arsenal's left side rest defense, forcing the left 8, potentially incoming Bruno Guimaraes, to cover vast horizontal distances to clean up after him. The pursuit of defensive cover like Piero Hincapié proves Arteta already foresees this vulnerability, preparing a three-man insurance policy behind his new star. Arsenal are essentially altering 4 outfield positions just to compensate for one man's refusal to track back. This chase isn't purely tactical. It is driven by commercial anxiety at the top of the Emirates hierarchy. Arsenal's leadership looks at rivals with envy. Despite winning the league and reaching a Champions League final, Arsenal generated just $304 million in commercial revenue last year. Compare that to Real Madrid's $594 million or Manchester City's $400 million plus, and the structural ceiling becomes glaring. Global brands demand Ballon d'Or podium contenders. Arsenal have a squad of elite system soldiers but zero pop culture icons. Without a Lamine Yamal or Erling Haaland, they lack commercial leverage. From the owners, the board, the sporting director to myself, we all know the ambition is to bring this club to a completely different level. That requires a higher quality squad and better individuals. Mikel Arteta. Arteta's words signal a shift in mindset. He fears tactical perfection has hit a wall of diminishing returns. When a team relies entirely on systemic control, they risk becoming predictable when stakes peak. In last season's Champions League final, Arsenal held 68% possession against a low block, yet produced a sterile 0.64 xG. They were paralyzed by caution, circulating the ball sideways because no individual dared to break the tactical script. Pursuing Vinicius is an admission of tactical desperation. Arteta is bringing ego and systemic friction into a clean dressing room because he believes Arsenal need unscripted chaos to win ugly, but this creates a psychological trap. When an egalitarian squad sees a new superstar granted tactical exemptions, the dressing room contract fractures. If Vinicius strolls back while Bukayo Saka busts his lungs tracking a fullback on the opposite flank, the collective trust that built this team will evaporate. How long do you reckon a dressing room built on ruthless work ethic can tolerate a superstar running at half capacity when the ball travels backward? Drop your take on how Saka or Odegaard react to that dynamic down below. To understand Vinicius, you must accept his extreme tactical duality. He is both a cheat code and an overwhelming structural burden. On one side stands the minimalist assassin. Vinicius can drift through 80 minutes on the periphery of a match, outputting minimal physical effort, only to kill an opponent in a split second. His spatial awareness in transition is unmatched. He doesn't just sprint, he manipulates a defender's hips, slows down to draw contact, and explodes into the box. He holds 17 global brand endorsements because when the pressure peaks, he remains utterly fearless. On the flip side is the heavy shadow. Vinicius warps every environment he enters. At Madrid, Jude Bellingham and Rodrigo consistently altered their runs to balance the pitch, because Vinicius demands total freedom on the left touchline. In an Arsenal side where positional rotations are measured in millimeters, his presence risks paralyzing his teammates' instincts. Look at the impact on Arsenal's young core. Ethan Nwaneri and Martin Odegaard rely on structured passing triangles. Vinicius demands the ball directly to his feet in isolated 1v1s, forcing teammates out of his space. If the team starts feeding the superstar out of deference rather than executing the system, Arsenal devolve from a collective machine into a delivery service for one man's highlight reel. Arsenal aren't just signing a winger, they are inheriting an entire media circus: contract noise, personal branding, and emotional volatility. Arteta spent years purging player power culture by casting out Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Mesut Ozil. Importing a Galactico threatens to resurrect the exact politics he fought to eradicate. Is sacrificing the team's balance for a raw game changer the inevitable price of ultimate European silverware, or are Arsenal throwing away their identity for short-term glamour? Let me know where you draw the line between system integrity and world-class individual talent. This saga marks a pivotal crossroads. Arsenal stand at the boundary between financial sustainability and Galactico-era commercialism. If Florentino Perez stands firm and Vinicius rejects Madrid's final offer, Arsenal will execute a deal that shifts European football's balance of power. Yet history offers a warning. Injecting raw stardom into a finely tuned tactical engine rarely works seamlessly. More often it causes expensive systemic rejection. Football is unforgiving. Past glory means nothing, and commercial value won't defend backpost crosses at the Etihad. Arteta may believe Vinicius is the final piece of his dynasty, but sacrificing defensive integrity for commercial clout could destroy the foundation that made Arsenal champions. Vinicius's potential move is the direct result of a multi-year strategy to rebuild Arsenal's financial firepower. But to understand how Arsenal built the leverage to pull off a $150 million hijack from Real Madrid, you need to look at how they restructured their wage structure and academy setup over the last 5 years. Click the video on screen right now for the deep dive on Arsenal's hidden financial engine.